Title VII and sex discrimination. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits an employer from treating you differently or less favorably because of your sex, which is defined to include pregnancy, sexual orientation, and gender identity. This law also prohibits employment decisions based on stereotypes, unfair or untrue beliefs about abilities and traits associated with gender. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is the federal agency that enforces Title VII. Under Title VII, employees, job applicants, and union members are protected from sex discrimination at the workplace and at the union hall. Title VII applies to employers with 15 or more employees. Federal courts and agencies have recognized that existing sex discrimination bans also prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. The Equal Pay Act. The Equal Pay Act requires employers to give male and female employees equal pay for equal work. This means that employers have to pay men and women equally for doing substantially the same work at the same workplace. Sexual harassment. Title VII also prohibits sexual harassment at work. Sexual harassment includes conduct that is sexual in nature, such as sexual jokes, photos, or touching, or requests for sexual favors, and non-sexual conduct that is based on gender, such as comments that men or women don't belong in certain jobs, or comments questioning men's or women's skills or abilities. Harassment based on sexual orientation, pregnancy, or gender identity is also prohibited. In general, sex harassment is illegal if it is unwelcome, unwanted, and it is so frequent or serious that it creates a hostile work environment. The law prohibits harassment by a supervisor in another area, a co-worker, and others in your workplace, such as a client or customer. A harasser can be of the same sex or a different sex. Retaliation. Title VII also prohibits retaliation. An employee cannot be punished or harassed at work because they or someone they closely associate with, for example, a relative or close friend, complains about sex discrimination or takes other actions protected by the laws enforced by EEOC. Discriminatory acts based on gender may not always be perpetrated by men. People of all sexes may act as perpetrators of gender-based discrimination in the workplace, and the gender of the perpetrator does not negate the unlawfulness of employment discrimination. Sex and age discrimination. According to AARP, there is a gender difference in the perception of age discrimination. While 72% of women between the ages of 45 and 74 said they think people face age discrimination at work, only 57% of men in the same age range said so. Intersectionality, sex, and race. Some women can encounter workplace discrimination on the basis of sex and other factors. Intersectionality occurs when individuals encounter discrimination based on their membership in two or more protected groups. For instance, intersectionality generally applies to African American, Hispanic, and Asian women who experience workplace discrimination. The EEOC recognizes intersectionality claims in an article entitled Race Discrimination in the 21st Century Workplace. The EEOC states the following. Title VII prohibits discrimination based on the intersection of two or more protected bases, for example, race and sex. For example, Title VII prohibits discrimination against African American women even if the employer does not discriminate against white women or African American men. Examples of gender discrimination and harassment include: you see an advertisement for a job, you read the specifications and find that you are qualified and have the experience the company is looking for. However, the company has some clients who prefer to work with men, so they hire a male applicant. Prejudice treatment in hiring or firing processes on account of gender. Being passed over for a promotion on account of gender, also known as the glass ceiling. getting paid less than a male employee who works the same job, being subject to unwanted sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other forms of sexual harassment, being given less paid sick leave or denied employee benefits on account of gender, being written up for a behavior that does not result in disciplinary action when performed by an employee of another sex, being referred to by a name or gender that you don't identify with. For example, a transgender man is referred to as Miss or Mrs., being the subject of derogatory language or slurs on account of being female. Your company does some layoffs and restructuring, eliminating the positions occupied by women but keeping men in the same positions who have less experience with the company. Despite an outstanding performance record, you're reassigned to a less desirable position within the company while a male is given your former position, which gives him greater earning potential in the future. Your health insurance doesn't cover your spouse because the company assumes he has his own. However, your male colleagues can cover their wives. Your supervisor has repeatedly made inappropriate comments about your appearance and frequently puts his hands on your shoulder or waist when talking to you about work. You have told him that his behavior makes you feel uncomfortable and have asked him to stop.